Hello and welcome to AWS Made Easy. This is the show where we review the latest AWS news, be it FinOps or generative AI related, or how you can use AWS easier. We talk about the latest in AWS, try to interview folks from the AWS community, and of course, rate and review articles and answer your questions. My name is Stephen Barr.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rahul Subramaniam, and so excited to be back. I feel like I've been a little bit out of the loop for a week or so.
I think you have good reason, so I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, so I was away I've been good. I was actually away for a week trekking in the Himalayas with the family, and it was absolutely amazing. Complete digital detox. No phones, no signal. Left my computer at home for the first time in probably a decade, and absolutely loved it. And came back a lot more energized and refreshed. So couldn't be more excited. What about you?
Oh, it's been a busy week. Just busy at home. Lots of projects, and going into the autumn season. That's been nice. Had put together some things I'd ordered off of Amazon with the kids. Nothing as exciting as trekking through the Himalayas, but putting together a weight rack with an Allen wrench I'll have to substitute.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was good. Wow. So did you miss ChatGPT when you were there? Did you ever think I really needed ChatGPT right now, or were you happy detoxing?
I think I was generally happy detoxing, but it kind of reinforced, the notion of how insanely connected we are to our phones. Like the need for Google Maps everywhere, the need for looking something up. We were birding for a while. We were looking at different, geological, material stones and stuff like that, trying to teach the kids what certain kinds of rocks look like. And they're like, oh, we don't have Google here or Perplexity over here to just take an image, and say, or to know immediately what it is. And that instant gratification that was kind of taken away was a revelation, but I think in a way good, because we had to be very observant about exactly what we saw, go back to the specialist, and then describe to him exactly what we saw, and then learn more about it, at a different time.
So in a way, it was good. Encode this knowledge without being able to just take a photo and immediately dump it into the cloud and let the full power of AI help you.
Correct. Cool. So it was definitely a very, very interesting exercise.
Well, great. Well, welcome back to the digital universe. What is in store in the cloud news? I think I'll put the first one on board here. We've got Compute Optimizer now supports 80 new instance types. This is the right here. AWS Compute Optimizer now supports 80 new instance types. I think we had touched on this a little bit. There was another Compute Optimizer, but let's go over this announcement. This adds the C7i Flex, C6ID, and C8G. So interesting that there's 3 different generations in there. Memory optimized instances, storage optimized GPU-based instances. So there was already Compute Optimizer support for GPU. We spoke with Rick Oakes about that when they launched that. So we can see they've added, at that point, I think it was just the P4D.
Right? Yeah, you're right. There's a P4D at that time.
And so it looks like they've filled out the GPU-based instance family. So the total EC2 instance type supported by Compute Optimizer to 779. So
that's a
almost
huge
all
number.
of them. Isn't that basically almost all of them?
I thought they have a lot more. We were at 700, I think, about 3 quarters ago, and they announced a whole bunch more. So I'm assuming that there are a bunch more. But that's huge news, just using Compute Optimizer to make sure that you're using the right kind of instances that are cost effective for your specific workload is a huge big deal. And now with the addition of the latest generation of all of these different instance types, I think that's awesome. You can now start optimizing even further.
I'm checking the pricing page. I have to know how many instance types there are.
And while you're doing that, I just want to reiterate something that Rick keeps talking about, and I think it's a really, really important thing for anyone looking to explore Compute Optimizer. Compute Optimizer is extremely conservative when it is trying to, give you recommendations. So it's one of those things which you can blindly take and apply. It's relatively easy to kind of switch over, and the savings that you could possibly get is upwards of 20%. So there's tons of money to be saved, there's tons of efficiency to be had, and potentially performance as well as part of this exercise.
All right, US East 1 is showing 758 available instances. So,
oh wow,
but
so this is more than that.
Yeah, so these are instances that are maybe deprecated from US East 1, but still exist in the wild. So this is pretty
much everything.
That's pretty exciting. So include, and it might not have maybe the ones with what is it, the FPGAs? I forgot the name of those. The FPGAs, the really you couldn't optimize for an FPGA. Okay, they got the Graviton 4. They're doing a little bit of a pitch for the Graviton 4 and the C7i Flex, showing the different regions. Very exciting announcement. I like what you said about Compute Optimizer. This is one of those things that you can apply basically blindly. And as you said, the team they don't want to affect your ability to serve your workloads.
Correct. And you should check out our previous episode detail, as we do a deep dive into how Compute Optimizer works, to get more details. But yeah, this is something that you should just run by default. Keep it running, get the data, and then keep migrating to the recommendations that Compute Optimizer gives you. And if you want it to be done easily, go check out Cloudfix. Cloudfix makes it super easy to actually take these recommendations. In fact, Cloudfix uses these recommendations to create new insights about where you could move to, and makes it really easy for you to migrate.
Absolutely. All right. How do you rate this article on the scale of 1 cloud being the worst, 5 clouds the best? How do you rate
I think this comes in at 4+, because in one shot, the amount of value that's delivered to customers is amazing, and it's super simple, easy to read, and it definitely simplifies the lives of customers. All right.
So we rate this on a scale of 1 cloud to 5. I think 4+. I think I'm going to round up to 4.5 here.
Sure.
We have 4.5 out of 5 clouds, and it simplifies. That means this simplifies your cloud journey, and Compute Optimizer definitely does that. And you can either write the integration yourself or do it the easy way, use Cloudfix and get Compute Optimizer recommendations surfaced right to your dashboard. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is Amazon EKS. Let's put this on there.
Yeah.
Switched? Yes. Okay. EKS now supports using NVIDIA and AWS Neuron accelerated instance types with AL to Amazon Linux 2023. What's the impact of this? Who's this affecting?
Yeah, so I think the key here is a lot of Docker-based packaging makes life really easy for organizations. It makes things very portable. It makes experiments portable. It makes experiments scalable. If you are directly working with instances, I think you would have to take care of a lot of other details to make sure that your services, your systems, or your experiments are going to scale up and down as needed. Docker makes it really simple to do that. And if you have a Dockerized container that actually has your application or your tests, or what are we trying to do with these NVIDIA or AWS Neuron chips, whether it's training, whether it's inference, doesn't matter. If you can run it on EKS, there are tons of benefits of doing it. All the management of your instances, how they scale up and down, are made way easier. And now that they're available on EKS, I think that makes life way easier.
Well, I'm highlighting this part here. Customers can choose NVIDIA or Neuron AMI with EKS managed node groups, self-managed nodes, and Carpenter. So Carpenter is the open source node management, and that's where you can have access to spot pools, to a lot of really exciting cost optimization features that are built into Carpenter. So have a look at that. Let's say EKS, generally available in all AWS regions, including GovCloud, across all standard EKS versions, as well as extended version support 1.23 and higher. Okay, what is the big rating on this one?
Yeah, I'd give this a good 4, and definitely simplifies the life for a lot of developers who would actually love to just package everything up as a Docker container and deploy it wherever they see fit. And so, yeah, huge benefits of enabling Dockerized containers, and EKS is probably the best place to host it.
Yeah, I agree. I haven't used EKS too much, but yeah, definitely from all I know, using that, it's very highly regarded, very useful service.
Yeah,
and one of those kind of common substrates that you can build on. That's going to be one of those key building blocks for the foreseeable future.
Agree.
Okay, AppStream. Let's put the AppStream 2.0 announcement on the screen. Here we go. Amazon AppStream 2.0 now supports custom shared network storage. We talked about AppStream 2.0 last episode. It was just part of the Amazon desktop workspaces suite of solutions, the end user computing. That's the word I was looking for. End user computing.
Correct.
So what is the shared custom network storage?
Okay. So typically in organizations, when you have these enterprise applications, they're typically driven by some sort of shared network storage, usually over SMB. So when you have a Windows app, the data is all stored in a centralized server and then exported via SMB to all the different Windows nodes around the place. The difference is when now you're hosting your application remotely and then streaming it to your local thin client, the notion of the shared storage kind of becomes difficult. But now they have shared storage available to the servers on AppStream, where you can actually share all the data. This is again over SMB, and relatively easy to get started. So your apps that were using shared storage earlier can just behave as is. They're not limited to the local storage alone.
Okay, so basically, to use the Windows terminology, you can say have I use the Z drive to mean your network drive. And so you can start up a Windows-based Windows AppStream session. You've got a fresh install of Windows, but you've got an SMB drive. If you go to your My Computer, your network neighborhood, if you go to your Z drive, okay, I've got my network drive all set up. So that way, if you are, because one of the use cases are people who do using CAD and CAM, where they have these huge files, and you don't have to waste time copying them to your newly imaged AppStream instance. You can just start working right away.
Exactly. And that makes AppStream even more valuable. I mean, AppStream was already valuable because you took away the need for local instances that always needed to be maintained. You can manage them centrally in AppStream, all remotely. And then now you've got shared storage as well, which makes even more applications feasible on AppStream 2.0.
And this is neat. Changes made to the shared files are automatically backed up and synchronized. So it works. It really does work like almost a NAS that complements your AppStream, but it's powered by AWS.
Correct. Before this, the only other option was EFS, and EFS is not really a full-fledged file system. So now that they support the shared network storage, which is SMB compliant, you've got a real full-fledged file system.
Yeah, so you just use it. Any Windows computer that just has standard file operation should be able to use this. Okay, exactly. How do we rate this?
Again, simplifies for sure, and I'd give this a 4.5.
Nice. Okay, we are doing well today. Nice work, Amazon. So 4.5, and it simplifies for AppStream 2.0 custom shared network storage. And this is interesting. Feature available at no additional cost. I mean, that's pretty good. Can't complain about that. Let's take a 2-minute break, and then we come back. We can talk about billing of shared EC2 on-demand capacity reservations. We will be right back.
Some tools just find AWS cost savings and make you do all the work. Visualizing cost opportunities is great, but that's not enough. CloudFix, on the other hand, actually delivers those savings for you. And you don't need to worry, because CloudFix uses AWS recommended savings techniques. It fixes, not just finds. It's the easiest way to save money on AWS. It's 100% automatic and risk-free. And the best part of all, it works non-stop. Stop overspending on AWS and click on the link to start saving now.
Okay, we are back and we are talking about assign billing of your shared Amazon EC2 on-demand capacity reservations. So starting today, you can assign the billing of unused EC2 on-demand capacity reservations to any one of your organization accounts with which the reservation is shared. So, Rahul, can you help us break this down? Who is using the ODCR, and why is this useful from a FinOps perspective, from an operations perspective? Why is this useful?
Got it. So in a bunch of cases, specifically as you're coming up to the holiday season or situations where you expect peak, usage of your resources. For example, at the end of a quarter, you might be running a whole lot of, analysis, which might require an order of magnitude more machines for a short period of time. In all of those situations, you might want to have an on-demand capacity reservation that is kind of built in. And you say, this is what I want for this period of time, and you reserve that capacity. And that really helps organizations as they are planning for these peak usage scenarios. And so when you do that, usually you do this at the entire org level. And you say, okay, for this org, I want to reserve this much in this region and so on. Now you can specifically assign those reservations to a particular organization account or a particular, business unit, which is attached to that account, and keep your billing more granular, keep your cost allocation, handled the right way right from the get-go.
Okay, so with unused, so that's saying, okay, say you're an entertainment company and you're planning the coverage of a sporting event, and you think you're going to need 1,000 instances, but you only got to 800 or 900. And so you have a reservation for 1,000, but you have an unused portion. And so what you can now assign this unused portion to any organization within, or any of your, any account in your organization.
Correct. Any account within the organization.
Which had access to the reservation. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is for a billing, I guess a billing part of the unused capacity, right? So I guess if you were to continue with that example, if you were the tech organization, maybe there's an entertainment account, but there's also like an operations account, and you want to make sure that the excess capacity got billed to, I don't know, the entertainment account, because they're the ones who wanted those 1,000 servers on standby, and not the standard day-to-day usage of your website.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah. So again, when it comes to usage, I think each account will get billed for whatever they are actually using, but the unused stuff stays at the organization level. So being able to allocate the unused capacity to specific accounts is where all the new feature or the new value really is.
Yeah.
Because because otherwise you wouldn't know where to charge it. Nobody's used it. It's at the organization level.
That makes sense. And I guess it's a good way of, I can see people wanting to say, okay, we need to have all this capacity just in case we have this big surge in traffic. And now you can say, well, your org can pay for it if that's what you want.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I get why this is useful now. How do you rate this one?
I think it definitely simplifies, and it's still very niche, but I think as an announcement, this is pretty good. So I'd give it a 4.
Yeah, definitely. And so who is this most relevant to? Is this FinOps practitioners? Is this who does this impact?
I think it impacts both engineering as well as FinOps organizations, for a simple reason that it impacts planning, and it also impacts any engineering org that is heading towards a peak usage scenario that's coming up. I mean, we have holiday seasons coming up. The holiday season coming up this quarter, so everyone is probably planning and preparing for it now rather than later. And so this is very timely for that exercise.
Okay, well, simplifies, and a 4 for shared assigned billing of on-demand capacity reservations, unused capacity. Okay, let's go on to the next one. This is EC2 C7i Flex instances are now available in additional regions. So let's talk about the C7i Flex. So this is different than a burstable instance. This is not a T series. How is the Flex different in terms of billing? And is the C7i Flex, is that an immediate step up from the C6i? Should everyone switch?
Yeah, I think we talked about the C7i Flex, I think maybe a couple of weeks ago when it was first announced in US East 1 and
yes,
West
we talked about the general availability.
Well.
Yes.
Correct. We talked about general availability, but now they are in more regions. The interesting things about the iFlex is that when you have a situation where, so the difference between burstable and this is your burstable instances for up to 20% of the time can kind of, hit full capacity. Here, you're assuming that your instances are running, full capacity up to 80% of the time. Mm-hmm. And it gives you a bunch of cost benefits as well as performance benefits, depending on, how it is or what kind of instance type it is. But the flex instances are really useful when you're not going to hit 100% all the time. As long as you're hitting it 80% of the time, that's good enough.
And that's for things like web servers and databases, things where it's demand driven, right? If you were running a molecular simulation, you wouldn't want to flex because you're going to peg the CPU at 100% the whole time.
Exactly.
So that's where you wouldn't want to use that. But for something where there's some random amount of demand and you can size it so that your steady state is ideally 50, 60% or whatever you're comfortable with, but you have some steady state amount that isn't 100%.
Exactly. That's where this is most useful. And so, now that it's available everywhere else, I thought it would be useful to just bring it up again and remind everyone of this new instance type. Again, given the sheer number of instance types that are now there, it's really hard to figure out which one to use. And you might always go to a very, go with muscle memory to whatever instance type you've been using so far. A combination of using the computer optimizer for its recommendation of the best instance type for your use case, as well as just knowing that there's another instance type is really useful.
Definitely. And then if you're on EKS, kind of tying everything together, and you're using Carpenter, you can use attribute-based instance selection, right? Yes. Or if you're using Spot, right, you could say, you can specify, this is the type of instance I want. I don't really care. I want to get the best price. Here's my constraints. And then depending on the supply and demand at a given time, you can get your job done without needing to specify exactly what instance. Because considering there's 700 plus, it's getting a bit hard to keep track of and pick the right one. Don't just fire up the your favorite one just because that's your go-to.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
All right. Well, our next article is a little bit of a departure from the typical, and not really. I don't think we can even rate this one. I don't think we should. But Amazon Web Services VP of AI, Matt Wood, is leaving the company. So this has got the AWS community buzzing a little bit. Yep. What do you think of this one? How are you parsing this?
This is hard to say. Matt has been at AWS for quite a while now.
Yeah, 15 years.
And been responsible for a lot of the AI related, work that's happened at AWS over this period. And so he's kind of one of the old pillars of that entire org. And seeing him leave is definitely going to be a little bit of a shock. That said, there's one sense that I've been getting is that there's some sort of a huge overhaul happening at AWS at all levels. And that could potentially be a good thing as well, in the sense that as the next generation of AI sprints are happening, you might want a different way of thinking about things. And this might just lead to a different direction, a different way AWS thinks about how to lead charge over the next 5 years. So I don't necessarily see it as a huge big negative, though his experience and his loss to AWS is going to be felt for sure. There's no doubt about it. But it might not be as negative as some folks are making it out to be.
Yeah, and clearly AWS's interest in machine learning and AI is bigger than any one person. I don't think
Exactly.
they're going to pull back anytime soon. But clearly, if you are a high-level executive with AI experience, you've got a lot of options. So
100% true.
we'll see. In Matt's LinkedIn post, he hinted that he's not retiring, that he has something else he's excited about. So we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah. And I think about a couple of years ago, if I'm not mistaken, Matt did take a leave of absence for a bit. And I think the way AWS orgs are set up, they are very resilient to changes like this. So I think I think it's a good thing. To change in this world, in this setup, will probably end up better for AWS in the long run. Though in the short run, they're going to feel a little bit of the pain of seeing Matt leave with all his experience and amazing insights and knowledge to getting AWS to where it is right now.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah. So let's not rate this one, but we'll have to see.
This is agreed. We'll have to see how things pan out, but I'm still very bullish on AWS and what it's going to do in the field of AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to our friend Corey Quinn earlier, and we were talking about the future of computing and thinking about what would it be like in 100 years. Are we going to be in the Star Trek universe, and are we going to be using Bedrock 3.0, and that's powering the computer that everyone's talking to? Who knows?
Yeah, I think everyone is learning right now, so it's a wait and watch game. I think every prediction that has been made, that was made 1 year ago, has kind of not really panned out the same way.
No,
because of the sheer pace at which things have been moving. So yeah, I think everyone is learning. Everyone is waiting and watching to see what's going to be.
Well, and how quickly it's just become a part of our daily life to have this AI that's fairly useful. We use it at home, generate funny stories and illustrations and games. It's really incredible. Just thinking about, kids are going to grow up with AI as kind of growing up along with them.
Yeah, 100%. So I think I've shared this with you, but I teach at my kids' school. I teach robotics twice a week, just as a thing to introduce them to some of these AI tools and also robotics, hardware programming and so on. And it's amazing how much we use AI today to just do the same thing that was done completely differently even a year ago. Their assignments, their research, their code generation is all AI built, and I find that they learn a lot faster too as they're talking to AI tutors or AI chatbots, trying to understand how things work. So I think the learning is also going to change dramatically over the next few years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to be much more fun to be able to play with code without getting stuck in the weeds of a particular library, or you're not going to throw away a day tracking down some dependency issue anymore. You can play at a much more high level. So hopefully that's the future we're heading towards. All right, we've got one more AI Engineer Summit. So this is the Weekend AI Engineer. So tell us about the Weekend AI Engineer. This is Hassan El Magari.
Yeah, so this one I really wanted to bring up for everyone else because very often when we are in conversations, we hear this question. I don't know what to build with AI. I don't know how to get started. What is the practical application that I can build very quickly to just experiment with something? And is it really going to be useful, or do I really need 6 months of engineering before something useful comes out of it? And you're really struggling to understand how to practically use all these new models that are coming out. And I think Hassan has done a brilliant job of just spending a few hours every weekend building some real world app. I think that previous one was actually really neat. He built a QR code. He built a QR code generator, which has images in the background, which is pretty neat. Instead of them looking black and white, and dull, you can literally give it a text, just text as what you want in the image behind the scenes, so that it matches whatever website or whatever aesthetics that you want, not just a plain black and white, boring looking thing at the corner. So some really interesting examples is what he covers in this particular video. And then at the end of it, he has some really neat tips on how to get started, how to think about it, simple architecture, uncomplicated, talks about all the different models he's used, walks through all of his projects. And this is a real world proof point about the fact that you can actually take something that is fairly simple but useful and can go viral. He has 8 to 10 projects on GitHub that he's built just over the weekends and turned them into viral, use cases. In some cases, he has over 200,000 users who are using his tool, which is really amazing.
I'm seeing he's giving really good advice, right? I like this: launch early and then iterate. I think we're seeing like a convergence on some of the useful business advice, right? I think the idea of working in skunk mode, in stealth mode for 10 years, like the Lockheed skunk works, that's not going to happen anymore. Things are moving way too fast.
No.
But get an idea out there, see if it's useful, and then either pivot, abandon it, try something else, or iterate on it. I like that. That's really good advice. Generally, make it free and open source. This is really good.
Particularly while you're experimenting, the tip about making it free and open source, he makes a very good point. He's like, usually when you're building these applications, you feel very lonely. You're kind of all by yourself and you're trying to make something work. But he's like, when I make something in open source and I kind of put it out there, he's like, there's tons of people who come up with amazing, better ways to do things. For example, he said the number of prompt engineering optimizations that others have contributed to these projects have been phenomenal and have actually helped make these products so much better. And they don't have to be very complicated products. They can be very simple, very straightforward. As long as it solves one valuable problem, you can make it very limited in scope, but make it do something that's useful to you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is really neat. I'm going to definitely check out his channel. I like this. AI engineers. This particular video is from 10 months ago. Looks like he's got one out 2 weeks ago, making good AI products. Future of knowledge assistance. Really neat stuff out there. To check out the AI engineer, and it's AI at AI.engineer on YouTube.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I think that wraps up today's show. I think that's all we have. We've set for a busy week. What have you got going on for the rest of it?
Again, a lot of AI related stuff happening behind the scenes. Unfortunately, can't reveal a lot of it. It's still in early development, but some very, very exciting things happening.
But you're iterating fast.
Iterating fast. But the most exciting thing that's happening in about a month and a half is reInvent. And we should be talking about that starting with the next episode. So,
oh gosh, okay.
I think the countdown is started. It's less than 60 days.
Oh,
so huge event coming up. If you're planning to attend reInvent, please do let us know. But
yes.
We are going to have a lot of reInvent related stuff, giving you tips and tricks about how to survive reInvent, how to make the most of reInvent, and so on. So looking forward to those conversations in the following weeks.
Not too many weeks because it's coming up. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Please send us your feedback. Until next time, see you later.
Bye.